Welcome to the show, Deborah Hayter. You are known as the go-to publicist in Hollywood, with a career spanning over 2 decades in the entertainment industry. Having grown up near Lincoln Park, you developed an eye for art and culture and went on to study art history. Your introduction to the PR world started unexpectedly when you coordinated a friend's campaign for an initiative called Caring for Children and the Teddy Bear Project. You were an in-house publicist for Paramount Studios before founding your own public relations company, DHPR, where you continue to secure talent for charities and special events, working with icons such as, but not limited to, Jeff Goldblum, Chaka Khan, and Angela Bassett. There's loads more to talk about with you, Deborah. Thank you so much for joining us, and please do tell us more.
Thank you. Well, I've enjoyed working in the industry because I've been able to take my passion as someone who is involved in humanitarian causes and moved it to talent wrangling. When I worked on the lot of Paramount Studios, there were so many gaps of time there. And I got to know some of the principals, some of the actors and actresses who were involved in community service. And they just reached out to other people. And I would say, okay, we've got this event. We need your name. We need the value of your presence. And it's really been fun because there are so many types of actors and actresses out there who really believe in causes, and their names are not that recognized, and sometimes they don't want to be recognized. But, for instance, Halle Berry works with a foundation that helps women in transition, and she actually goes into the homes and helps paint, helps to purchase furniture for them, helps them to decorate, work with their children. So, I love the passion that they have because there's so many gaps of time between filming that you can get into substance abuse, all types of things that are not healthy for you, unhealthy addictions.
Yeah.
And because we are in a service-based industry, I go after those people and I'm enjoying doing it. After I left Paramount Studios, I started working with many foundations and charities, and we do special red carpet events, and my specialty is talent wrangling.
Wow. And do you place talent in these events?
Absolutely, because that's the only way so many people become involved. If I don't place them, I work with other publicists, I work with people in media, I write for 2 media publications, and, talent wrangling is important in this industry because I can say, oh, I'm going to do an event for the Lupus Foundation, and people will say, okay, I'll buy a ticket, and they'll pay the $25 to $50 for a ticket. But if I say I'm doing an event for the Lupus Foundation and Jeff Goldblum or Chaka Khan will be performing, they will pay that $1,500 for the ticket. Because they're doing it, to benefit the cause as well as their involvement with hanging out with a celebrity. I mean, it is what it is. Sometimes, you don't want that to be the reason for people showing up, but it's the reason that I give for them to show up. So,
well, yeah, you sweeten the pot a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did that for years. I used to write songs for charities. I write the theme song for it, right?
Yeah.
For foundations.
Well, I love the song you did many years ago. You did a song and the video, it's still on YouTube. I'm sure it's still on YouTube about people coming together, and you showed, you talked about hunger and you talked about the homeless and and that was very moving. And I hope you still have that out there.
Oh, it's called "This Is a Calling." Yes. I wrote it about the homeless, right?
Yes.
Just trying to bring awareness to the homeless, right? And I love doing that. I did songs for issues for many, many years, but now I'm just doing positive songs, uplifting.
Good for you.
I got a song called Positive Vibes. And when you talk about kids, I went and got 12 kids up in Belfast, and I took them in the studio, and a friend of mine got me YouTube studio to take these kids in. And the song is already done and on a compilation, but she goes, Skyler, I work with kids all over Africa, and can you get kids to sing on? I said, yes. And I flew there and had those kids on it. Well, I sing Positive Vibes 21 times in the song. So what I want to do is get schools from different parts of the world where the kids are singing Positive Vibes, right? Because when children
Yes.
see other children doing it, it was the most beautiful thing to me ever. To you sang on the Titanic, and I'm singing with you. This little 12-year-old, she was a sweetheart, right? And so I look at that too. When you get to help these kids, and but what I do is I get them to write positive music, just like the song. I want you to go write a positive song, and I want you to go teach a friend of yours how to write a positive song.
Yeah, and that's healthy too. I was involved in a project. I was on the board of Children Uniting Nations and Upward African Women, and they were both very much educational focused. But when I went into the LA Unified School District, we had a kid, and it was under a behavioral modification program. And this kid, they just said, oh, he's a problem. He's failing in school. He's this, he's that. We took him into the recording studio, and he was so poor at math. And the producer and the engineer worked with him, and they said, okay, we got to bring the bass up by 10%. We got to bring this up by 17%. We got to bring the treble down by whatever percentage. This kid's math score went up 2 grades just because they found something that he loved to do.
Yes.
Yeah. And I also do a program where I took, it's under the STEMS program, science, technology, engineering, and math. And I taught a little sort of a workshop class where I brought in I introduced 5 great performers. Bad Bunny was one, Drake was one, Kendrick Lamar. So we had these 5 people, Madonna and another, Elton John. And I mentioned all of the people that were involved in their career. And I said, okay, for instance, Bad Bunny made X amount of money this year. How much of that went for taxes? So we broke down the math. How much did the attorney make? Broke down the math. The producer, the director. Did they get a distribution deal? Drake got a distribution deal. Bad Bunny decided he would take it and go in as an independent. Who made the most money? We did the math. And at the end of the day, these kids were working math. They understood what it was like to write a song, to be a producer, an engineer, a publicist, an agent, an artist. And at the end of the day, they realized it takes a village to even bring an entertainer out.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I said, well, who made the most money? And they couldn't guess, except one kid realized it was the attorney.
Wow.
And I said, why did the attorney make all this money? Because he got a percentage out of every one of those artists. He was the representing attorney for all of those artists. So he ended up making the most money. So it changed their career objectives from wanting to be in front of the camera to being behind the camera as an artist and someone who could control their own career, which is pretty much what you've done, Skyler. You've created a position where you control your career. So, those are things that are invaluable to kids, and you teach them under their terms. You teach them at a level they understand. They understand who Bad Bunny is. They know who Drake is. They know these artists. They can relate to them. But to relate to their success, they need to know how they came to the success that they've reached and their empowerment and how they control their own narrative. It's no longer the old Motown scenario where they just take everything but your soul. Right. Now it's like you have control over what you're doing. And then you have these multiple options. Look at the platform that you're on today. You're able to take your career and drive it into other areas that you might not have been able to do years ago.
What I love is Tom and I have been doing it a couple of years now, and all my guests are from all over the world, all walks of life. And we're all talking about music. I had a radio show for 3 years before I moved over here, and once a month I would have like a European group on my show. And it was the coolest thing because my friends would go, "Who was that, Skyler?" And so a guy in Europe, he said, "Skyler, you about to be famous over here, man." I said, "What are you talking about?" "Yeah, man, because most of Europeans, they just want to be heard in the United States. And you're doing that for them, right?" And I'm like, "This is beautiful." And so as soon as I moved over here to Scotland, one of the guys that I had on my show, he invited me to Portugal, right? And I went to Portugal, and at that time I was writing a song for a film, and we used his band, and I would say only 20% of them spoke English, but these guys were so bad at what they do, right? So that's the other thing. I get to move around. There's 10 million people in Portugal, but they don't, and I mean, all the musicians play 3 and 4 instruments and sing, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to take programs in there. My buddy's one of the head guys at the Grammys, and I'm going to take some people there, some attorneys, and we just go have a conference to help these people so they can get paid because they pay them peanuts over there in Portugal, right? And I mean, they're doing the same thing we doing and great sound. That's what I love. And you can hear some great sound over here.
Well, it's great sounds coming from everywhere. Years ago, my daughter went to Budapest, and she said, "Mom, I heard this lady. Oh my gosh, she's a really good singer." She was 18 years old at the time, and I said, "Oh, that's nice." But the girl kept calling me, and I picked up the phone and I said, "You know what? I can't come to Budapest, but you can sing something to me over the phone." I was in Hungary 3 days after.
Oh,
okay?
Wow.
Linda Corrali.
All right.
Linda Corrali was slated to become like a 5-octave Mariah Carey. Okay.
Wow.
But the lesson is you got to do your homework, because I took her to Clive Davis. Unbeknownst to me, the people who produced her, Foster and McElroy, had a lawsuit with En Vogue against Clive Davis. And
wow.
Clive Davis said, "Who produced her?" All excitedly. And I said, "Foster McElroy." "Oh, well, thank you for coming." Never heard from him again.
Wow.
But Linda Corrali went back to Budapest and ended up performing on Phantom of the Opera. They have their own show. She's one of the most highly sought after performers in Hungary right now.
Wow.
Her brother Victor Corrali came over and blew them away here in The Voice. He was on The Voice.
Right.
He was almost one of the finalists. I mean, his incredible voice. But I have learned that you got to do your homework. When an artist gets in front of you, do your homework. Know where they've been, who produced them, where they're going, just everything about that artist. And it was a great lesson for me. But it's a lifelong friendship. And I've worked in Africa. I've worked in Nigeria with director Jetta Amata, Vivica Fox, Michael Madsen, and what's her name? Julia Roberts' brother, Eric Roberts. It was called Black Gold Struggle for the Niger Delta. We shot half of it here and the rest of it in the United States. So that was a great experience.
Yeah.
And of course, having lived in London, I go back and forth now quite a bit. I'm there to do a seminar. I'm very excited working with Esther Austin, who came to California and just blew everybody away.
She's a dynamo. She got a beautiful spirit.
Incredible. And we are going to do a series of teas, Esther Austin Global. We're going to blow her up in the United States and in the UK. So I'm excited about that.
You see what I've been doing, just like, trying to get people to write positive, inspiring music so we can flood the negative out, right? And
there's so many avenues that you can take with it. That's what I love about it. I wanted to do something called Real American Music, bringing artists from all over the world who were influenced by American music.
Wow.
And still enjoy American music. And I've talked to a few people about it, and I want that to happen. So I'm putting it out to the universe. It has to happen.
It's definitely not fair. I mean, and I saw that when I had my radio show, but like there's 330 million Americans. There's 960 million Europeans, right? And the Europeans want to get heard in the American market, but America has so much talent itself. It can't even get all the people that they got in there. But if you drop that wall right there where everybody can collaborate with each other, because we don't have to go through that kind of stuff anymore. We got the internet, right? And so I'm connecting people to write with each other from all over the world. And now you're a new fan base, because if I wrote a song with you and you go, hey, I want you guys to meet my buddy Skyler Jett, well, you just introduced me to a lot of people I never would have met, and vice versa.
Absolutely. And the best thing about what we're doing today is, I've worked in Florida. I've worked all over the country, not just in film, but you got to have music. If you're going to make a film, you better put some music in there. And there's an opportunity to build both avenues, film and the music side of it. And this is what I love. And we know musicals work.
Yes,
there's no doubt about it.
Deborah, as I mentioned, you are literally the go-to publicist for Hollywood. How much of it is based around the fact that people want to get involved because you deal with charities? Do you think that was a big draw for some of these artists for you?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't know if we put the cart before the horse. Okay, I'm on the board of directors of Children Uniting Nations, and what they wanted to do is they wanted to bring awareness to kids in foster care. So how do we bring awareness to kids in foster care? We find artists and celebrities who were in foster care, and we go after them first. Does that make sense? Can you
That's wonderful.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then we invite people who enjoy performing, like Jeff Goldblum will get on a guitar in a heartbeat. Randy Quaid, Dennis Quaid, they love playing the guitar. We'll get them and say, look, this is an opportunity for you to perform. Shaka Khan will perform. I mean, it's just amazing how they say yes, because they love performing. They love what they do.
Yeah.
And they're passionate about helping kids.
Yeah.
I love it.
So, and you can walk backwards in this town and find the celebrities. They're pulling their teeth and trying to get them to get involved. That's the big challenge.
Absolutely.
Because you have to look at their schedule. You have to get past the gatekeepers, and you develop good relationships with them. And what I love is, like, I tell students all the time when I'm teaching in a class or a lecture or whatever, I say, you know what? It takes 6 to 8 months to a year to make a good film, just in an incredible amount of time for people to enjoy 1.5 hours of pleasure.
Right. Okay?
And they don't realize that. And when they read all this negative publicity about people, they said, look what it took for them to make the movie that you are enjoying for 1.5 hours. It took them sometimes a year.
Maybe more, yeah.
Or music, to produce music. How many people does it take to bring in and produce a song, and then to deliver it and to distribute it and make sure it doesn't fall on deaf ears? Yeah. So I make my students appreciate not only what they're listening to or what they're watching, but appreciate the energy that was taken, everything it takes to put that music together.
Yeah.
And it takes a great amount of skill. You have to get past those critical barriers, the criticisms, and you're up against so much, and it's not a competitive environment. You're competing with yourself,
right?
Because you got so much to give, and how do you compete with yourself to get it done? And one important element we haven't touched on is sponsorship. It's so important to get that sponsorship initially. You bring in those sponsors, find those sponsors, let them know that you do have an audience. Give them those numbers. If you have potential to bring in 20, 30, 40, 50, 60,000 people, give the sponsor those numbers. Let them know how many people that they're going to be reaching, and make sure you have a great marketing plan put together.
Gotta have.
Because it's hard
Yeah.
to do any of this without great sponsorship.
Mhm. Always. Tom, you got another question?
I just want to know what's next. What sort of things you got in the pipeline? Anything that you're able to let us know? What sort of events you got coming up or anything like that?
Well, we just finished award season, NAACP, Oscar, Screen Actors Guild. We're kind of slow until September, and then it starts all over again. But what I'm involved in doing now is a series of seminars. I'm working with, like I said, Esther. We are getting ready to do a series of teas. We're going to talk about book publishing. We're going to be talking about first-time authors, how I encourage people to continue to write those books, but you don't have to self-promote. You get a great agent and let those publishing companies do the work for you, and I will be out there demonstrating how to do that. And I did it through blood, sweat, and tears because I had to learn myself how to do this. But then I realized, you get a great publisher who's going to give you a great distribution deal, and let them do the work. You write the book, you do the creative side. So this is what our seminars are going to be geared towards. And it's also going to be geared towards how to keep sanity in an industry that is not always as fluid as you'd like it to be.
Yeah, I think you've got Skyler there.
We talk about, keeping humor in it. Totally excited about that. I'm excited about bringing Esther back to the United States. She gave a wonderful presentation when she was here, and people want her back. So I'm excited about that.
Much love. Much love. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Deborah.
You're very welcome, and looking forward to seeing both of you at some point.
Music can save the world. Music can save the world. If we all get together, music can save the world. Yeah. Music can save the world. Music can save the world. If we all come together, music can save the world. There's an urgency facing our humanity.
Thank you so much for watching. To stay up to date, please click subscribe and hit the bell. You can also join our group on Facebook and find us on LinkedIn and Instagram.